Everything I present from this series of videos I will offer biblical proof of. I encourage you to all do your own research as well if you wish to refute any of it. Does God exist? Should you believe in God? Let me start by saying that believing in the Big Bang requires just as much faith as believing in God. There are two paths we all have to choose from, and both require faith. Let's take a look at the Big Bang Theory, which is now taught as fact. It requires that you have faith that first there was condensed matter that came from nothing. This matter somehow exploded, and out of destruction, order was created. Yes, out of a super explosion, all the mathematical rules in the universe were set in place. Now, you hear from time to time that man has discovered or come up with a theory of a new mathematical equation. This is propaganda. How can I prove this? If the mathematical theorem is sound, and it does in fact exist, for example, Albert Einstein's E equals mc squared, did the math equation exist before the theory was presented, or does it only exist now that we have discovered it? Logically, it exists because the rule was already set in place. Gravity did not start with Sir Isaac Newton. People were not floating off the earth before he discovered a rule that was already there. So after the explosion of the Big Bang, you have to have faith that somehow disorder created all the mathematical rules in the universe, along with our solar system, which just happens to be the perfect birthplace for life. Disorder somehow knew that you needed to be a perfect distance from the sun. It knew what kind of sun it had to be. It also knew that without a gas giant like Jupiter, life would not survive, because Jupiter acts as a guardian of Earth by attracting and slingshotting objects flying through space away from planet Earth. Disorder somehow also created life itself. How? Through random chance, by mutations, through billions of years of random chance. Voila, you are an evolved monkey who should have no morality or laws. Perhaps the fact that you smile when you see the beauty on earth or in the sky, or you feel bad about yourself when you've acted wrongly towards your fellow man, or good when you have helped them, also evolved, as did laughter, sorrow, all the gambit of human emotions that make up who we are. We should all be automatons and savage animals like children in The Lord of the Flies. So to sum it up, an atheist has faith and belief that something came from nothing, then nothing magically exploded for no reason, creating everything, and then a bunch of everything magically rearranged itself for no reason whatsoever into self-replicating little bits that turn into life. This life mutated and had mutant babies that for some reason got to live while the older organism had to die or stop mutating. Now I ask you, does this require faith? Something from nothing that creates everything. It sure sounds like faith to me. What can it not explain? Human morality, the perfection of the earth, the order that exists throughout the entire universe and in our own bodies, systems within systems within systems. Now, what does faith in God require? It requires that you have faith that you are here for a reason, that you use your God given intellect and come to the conclusion that all of these systems, mathematical laws, and boundaries were put in place by someone. It requires that through loving each other and acting in the right way towards your fellow man, you will be rewarded. The Bible is not a book about punishment, death, and hellfire. It is a book in which we are given morality that sets us free, and it is a message of hope, not death. It contains warnings that there would be mass deception in the time of the end. We are living in that time, and I will explain why. Now the atheist will say, where did God come from? I hate to tell this to you people, but you are not God. He tells us in Isaiah, my ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. He says that he is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. You are never going to figure out where God came from because you can't. We are not God, and you will go crazy trying to figure it out. It is simply beyond human comprehension. We can't fly like a bird, we can't run like a cheetah, and we do not have the intellectual capacity to understand the origin of God. We do, however, have the intellectual capacity to see that his laws set us and our fellow man free. Others might also question, why does God allow bad things to happen? And false prophets will say God himself is punishing people, like that clown Pat Robertson did when the people in Haiti perished in an earthquake. What What exactly is going on inside this wonderful place we call Earth that has not so wonderful things going on inside it? We are at the end of a court case spanning all of human creation. First there was God and his first creation, Jesus. He then created the angels. When God created the earth and the universe and set the laws in place, he said, "Let us make man in our," plural, "image." Man was created by the Father through the Son, which is later shown in the Bible. We know that not all angels are the same. There are archangels. One angel in particular did not want to be a servant of God. His followers call him Lucifer, the morning star. We know from the Bible that he was a very powerful angel. He is called Satan in the Bible. He has made it his mission in life to make a court case that he can rule better than God himself. Some angels followed him. Why has God allowed this? God has allowed this because he is love. He wants it proven without a shadow of a doubt that only he has the right to rule, as it was through him all was created, and we were created out of love. Satan has been allowed control of the world right now, and as it comes close to him having his 5 minutes of fame, you are seeing the world deteriorate before your very eyes. This is to prepare you for him, so that you may be deceived into accepting him. God did not want us to be without any guidance whatsoever, though. He gave Moses the 10 Commandments and chose the Jews as his chosen people. During the reign of Solomon, who had many, many wives and concubines, some who worshiped Satan and his rebellious angels with idols, the Jewish priesthood became corrupted. God left his people Israel, but not without a promise that he would send a perfect example of love for us to follow, and by following this example we would be set free. The Jewish priesthood became even more corrupt in the Babylonian captivity. The Babylonian Talmud was written which taught hatred and went against everything God had taught them previously. Now I am not addressing a race here. I am addressing leadership and a book, the Talmud, which is still taught. Why is the Talmud never discussed by media? Because if you ever read it, you would know that it is the most extremist book in the world, and there is no Islamic book in the world as extreme as the Talmud, outside of distant hadiths, which were biographies of Muhammad and not believed in by the vast majority of Islamic people that live today. Muslims that believe in the Mahdi, who will rule with Christ, are as heretical as the Catholic Church, who has set up men in place of Jesus, who told us that he was the temple and the high priest. The Sanhedrin in Jesus' time studied the Kabbalah, which was mysticism and the occult knowledge passed through the ages in secret societies. Jesus called them a synagogue of Satan for a reason. It was because that is what they were. Now I am not going to post quotes from the Talmud here because the video would most likely be shut down. Google search Talmud racist and you will find direct quotes from there. The media hides any of this information as anti-Semitic. And again, there is no such thing as an evil race of people. There is only bad leadership and teachings. In fact, if anything, the Talmud gets the point across that Jesus was real. They refer to him as a sorcerer and many unpleasant things. This was for a reason. Jesus ended the priesthood and their cushy lifestyle. The Sanhedrin no longer had the right to lead the Jewish people. Jesus was the high priest and replaced the priesthood. Jesus taught us everything we need to know if we would just follow his example. Those who live by the sword will die by the sword. Do not judge. Love God above all. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Pray for your enemies or those who persecute you. By his teachings we are set free. If you do kill, if you do hate, if you do believe that a human Messiah is coming to make peace and stop nuclear war, then you are not a Christian and are not learning Christian teachings. By supporting the war on terror and killing of your fellow man and supporting the institution of man-made Zion, you are in fact going against the Bible. Jesus is not coming back to make peace. He is coming back to wipe out man-made Zion and those who would set up a man-made temple and worship the beast who has made himself God. When this is accomplished, then he will institute Zion from heaven. Now, do I have biblical proof of all this? Yes, I do, and I will show you that in the next part of this series.